a year ago. You can't be serious. A year ago, I thought we got them all. We didn't get them all. It's still going on out there.
How much of our world do you think our government and our other structures are infiltrated? How fast do you think this is growing? Because I hear from organized stalking victims all over the world, and more popping up every day. And what we've determined is those of us who aren't going along with the program are going to be harassed until we're either dead or into prostitution or into an institution.
Right. That's the impression they sure want you to get. And when you're a little child and you live with them, you grow up here and they're going to put you away and you're a lunatic and you ain't supposed to care about them people that's getting killed. There's something wrong with you if you care about them. We're supposed to be a secular humanist or a non-human. We're supposed to be robotic like them and not care about what's going on in society. These people don't have parental instincts about them. They don't have to. They spend their entire life slaughtering. They learn to get cold to all of that and to ignore that like it's so much nothing, just nothing to them. And that's what they wanted us victims to do. We just couldn't do it. Their experiment with trying to totally break us down and make us robotic like them was a failure. Some of us still had a human heart and enough human mind in us that we knew that what was going on was wrong and had to be stopped one way or another, no matter how long it took us. And all we could do was just keep gathering evidence because there was no one to give it to. And that was another reason that Interpol was in here, because we had to have someone to give our evidence to, because there was no one in our government that we trusted. The infiltration, I always believe, is more than 50% in my own country.
Well, that would probably explain the downturn in our economy and our homes foreclosing, because they do want to take us over and destroy us, so that they can raise their new flag and do what they want to do. No more freedom, no more democracy. And I did read in your interview by Wes, you were interviewed by Wes, and you had written or talked about how there really is no democracy left in this country because of the infiltration. Mm-hmm. And that's the reason you started this Militia One, and you did start it at a young age. You started Militia One with Eric Clapton and Carlos Santana. Why don't you tell us about how you met them and how they got involved and what's going on today?
When they were hearing about me, because, the Nazis, they take pictures and they keep notes of you, and it's just like stalking or surveillance. But the typical psychopath stalker is not going to keep notes on you, you know what I mean? But these people do, because they're organized, and they take footage of you when they think you're not looking and so on. And they watch you, and they just have their nose in your business, and they want to know absolutely everything about you. They took some of that footage to Hollywood, where they already had some of the famous people trapped, and I didn't ask who all was trapped and who all wasn't. I just know people that I met, And Eric and Carlos showed up while I was in junior high, and this was about the same time that I met the secret general, and he's the person that we were getting our evidence to, If people could get a picture of something, or people could collect the name of the missing people brought to the county, this is how we actually started. We wanted to know who was being brought to the county and how they ended up. So that was the beginning of the militia. So Eric and Carlos showed up, and they wanted to know what was going on, because they were hearing about the militia, and it was like brand new, and we didn't want the Nazis to know it actually started up yet. And so that's how we all got together to start with. And a few times a year, they would get to come back through the county, and pretty soon, after a couple years, they put me with Eric because they wanted me to have a baby to be a human sacrifice, and there was really nothing we could do to stop them if they wanted to do that. If I had a baby and they wanted to kill it, we couldn't stop them. We didn't have anyone to turn to stop them anyway.
Would you carry the baby full term then, or what did they do when you were pregnant?
Well, I didn't get pregnant, but if I did, there was nothing I could do to stop them. And most likely, before it was due, they would have tied me up someplace and kept me until they was ready to use me for a sacrifice.
And this is what you said did go on the property where you stayed with your stepfather, sacrifices like this.
Well, yeah, but them people was new arrivals, the people that I saw down there, unless some of them were child prostitutes that grew up, and when they got older or tried to get attention, maybe they had to start getting rid of them when they got older because there was a lot of child prostitutes out there. And then got the younger kids they were kidnapping would take their place. Now, that might have been what some of them victims were, but most of what I saw in my life was women, young women, but there was children also that was brought through the county.
Okay. Why don't you continue on with what happened after you met Eric Clapton and Carlos Santana and how they worked with you to form Militia One and what you did. And tell the audience who the Secret General is because they don't know who that is.
Yeah. Well, that person is still secret, and I'm one of the people that was tortured to try to name him. And, of course, we never could. And 2 years after I met him, when we got Interpol in here, it would have led to Interpol agents being killed. So it's a good thing that we was all tough enough that no matter how much we got beat up, to refuse to name him. So he's still secret. He has been since 1969. And he's the last person in the world that we can name until this is out there, and then the media, the mainstream media out there that already know this and has their own evidence, don't have the FBI's permission to go public yet. And that's another problem because this has dragged on for 23 more years, after we got the investigation started. And we actually need people to start going public with this. The media need to start putting stuff out there so people can see what's been going on,
Well, what happened with Eric and Carlos after that? They helped you. You guys were sort of underground.
Yeah, they did their part of wherever they went. They were followed by Nazis, and Interpol was collecting evidence on that. So the list of names on everybody involved with it was a pretty big list of names, and of course all their kinfolks. Even the kinfolks that wasn't doing actual kidnapping or killing, they still were involved in not turning the people in. Some of us had people watching us 24 hours a day where we couldn't just run down to the federal business building, and say, I need to talk to somebody about this problem I got, because it wasn't going to work that way. But there was people that had absolutely no one watching them, and they could have done a little something to help us and refused. So we had to be real sneaky about not getting caught what we were talking about, because let's face it, the Nazis was always there. We couldn't have actual private conversations.
No, organized stalking victims can't either. And everything you're saying ties in with organized stalking victims. And I know that my sexual assault was videotaped, and there was a lot of flashing of cameras and things like that. And I've read that does fit into satanic ritual abuse tactics and cult tactics. Can you tell us more about the satanic ritual abuse tactics?
Well,
what they do to get you to go along with what they want, how they take away your spirit. What do they do? How do they keep you down and in their control?
They had to abuse us every kind of way to keep us emotionally broke. They had to hurt our feelings at all times, We were constantly insulted. It wasn't just physical and sexual abuse, but
mental as well.
Yeah, the mental abuse was so brutal, that we was the ugliest kids in the world, and if there was help for every kid in the world, there would not be help for us because we didn't deserve to live. We didn't deserve to have help, and, we deserve what we get. And so that kind of abuse, it was every day. See, it wasn't once in a while. It was every day. It was nonstop. And when I was real young and they'd be saying these terrible things about me, I didn't know what some of them words even meant. And I would ask people, what does this mean? And people would say, where'd you hear it? And I would tell people, that was another thing. We were supposed